Welcome back, guys. In this video, we will look at how to work with database migrations and models inside AdonisJS. So, to get started with databases, Adonis has support for quite a few databases. It has support for all these six database. However, we will need certain drivers for us to start working with it. Now I am using MySQL, so I will npm install this driver. Okay, let me go into the terminal and do npm install MySQL and then hit save. Okay, once that is done, we will be able to use MySQL. Adonis will understand the MySQL queries, and it will be able to do all the database activities. Apart from that, Adonis also allows us to give us certain functions through which we can create models and controllers. I have already shown you how we can create a controller. Now today, here we will create a model. So Adonis make model with a flag as M, which stands for migration, and my model name is movie. Once I do that, I get a movie.js model, and inside the migration I have movie underscore schema. Okay, so let's go into our code editor and see the files which were created. Right now, what do we want to store in our database? If we go to our movies controller, okay, and kind of do a console.log of the data which comes with the movie response, I have done a console log, and let's just search for the movie. Okay, and when I go here, you can see I get quite a few fields. Now I'm interested in a few, and so what we will do is we will take the IMDb ID, which is the unique identifier for each movie, and we will store that. Then we will have things like title, released, director, actors, and all those stuff. So why don't we create our schema file and add them right in here. So I'll copy paste the code and I'll go through all the columns which we are taking up. So we have these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. About 10 fields. Movie ID, which as we discussed is the unique identifier. Okay. This is the IMDb movie ID. Then we have title, released, director, genre, actors, awards. Plot is a text field. IMDb rating, and poster. Poster is basically the URL of the image which we will store in the database. Okay, so with that, let's see which command will help us get the migration. So we can do migration run at first. Okay, oops. Adonis migration run in my SQLite, SQL Pro, I get the movies table. However, I'll time to time do refresh as well so that it drops. It rolls back the migrations, which means all the tables are dropped and then they are created, which means my data is empty. All right. Now the table is here. We have the model. Now, how do we handle the functionality inside the controller? So what we are trying to do is we will kind of look for the movie in our database. Okay, so for us to query the database, we will need to load the model. So why don't we do movie equals use app / models / movie. Okay, this is how we load any models or any other services if we create inside Adonis. So yeah, we have the what do we call the model instance. So let's query the database. I'll do let movie equals await movie dot find by, or rather do query where movie id equals movie id, to be very specific, and then we will pick up the first. And let's just see if we are able to get that. So oh sorry, we will not get that instance immediately. We will fail because we haven't created it. So this is the first step. If we get this, what we will do is, if we have movie, return view render. Okay, so that's where we immediately return page. Otherwise, okay, for the sake of development, we will also log from database. Okay, now we know whenever this log is coming that we have fetched the data from database and the API call was not made. But if we have kind of seen that the movie entry doesn't exist in the database, then we will have to create it. To create the entry, we have response. We convert that into a constant called movie. Okay, and then let's just say I just copy pasted it. Okay, I have result, right? So constant result equals response dot data, and then let movie equals await movie dot create. This is where we do the database insert. Okay, and then we console log, let's say, from API. Correct. So as per the condition, I think we are very clear. We make a query to the database. If we find it, we pass it to the view. We log from database. Otherwise, we continue. We make the API call. We get the result. We store it in the database, and then we send it back a view with the movie which was just created into the database. So let's try it out. I'll go to my movies page, or why don't we refresh it actually? Movie is already declared. Oh, I think I know the problem. It cannot be let. It's already declared. Okay, so the first time it was refreshed and it said from API, and then it said from database, which means if I hit refresh, I have one entry, and all the subsequent entries should only show me from database, which means we are pulling the data from the database and we are not making any API calls. So why don't we search for some other movie? Okay, movies, Fast and Furious. So this movie, we see the details. This time it was from API because this is the first time we are looking at this movie. The entry was made. So if I hit this page again, I'll close this tab and I will reopen it. Right? This time I got the data from the database. So yeah, I think we have done the basic stuff, which is, pull out the data if it exists, otherwise insert it. A typical thing, and we are able to get all the information which was required. Right? So we should have two more entries, yes. So yeah, everything is stored. It says NA. I think that doesn't have any awards information, but otherwise we are storing all the information correctly. So far, so good. Now let's look at the code. If you see, we have a lot of things going around in our controller. Okay, we do a query, we see whether it is present or not, and then we make an API call, a lot of things. So what if we want to, pull out the business logic from inside the controller and push it to somewhere like in a service folder, right? So I'll have a services folder, and let's just say I had a movie service.js file. So I would want everything to be there, right? So we'll create a class movie service, and we need to do module.exports equals movie service. Okay, and then in here, let's just say we have one function, a static function, which is an async function called get movie by id, and we have movie id here, right? So we can start picking up certain pieces of the code from here. For example, let movie, this is here. The first step for that, we need the model instance, so we will copy it from here. I'll also add the use strict line. Okay, so movie, we are making the query. So far so good. If we get that, then we will do one liner, movie return movie. Okay, this is the service. It's not the response which needs to be sent, because response is still something the controller will send. So this is done. We don't need this anymore. We don't need this. Now if movie is not present, right? So at that point you will need everything in here. Response await. For the configs, we will need everything from here, right? So we make the call, and then once the entry is created, we return movie. So this is what the service will do. Now if we come back to our controller, we need the service, right? So movie service equals use, like we did the model, we'll have app services movie service. Okay, and in here we can do constant movie equals movie.service.get. It's not giving me an autocomplete, so why don't we copy from here? Okay, very well. So what do we have? We get the movie id from the parameter, then we get the movie from our service, which has a method called get movie by id. I pass the id from the parameter, and I get back movie, which I pass to my view. Inside the service, we first call our database, like we were doing inside the controller. Let's just spread it out a bit. Okay, we call the database. If we get it, then we send it back. It's a return statement. Otherwise, we make the API call, right? I can even divide this into a separate method, which is get movie from API, but for now let's just say this is fine. Let's see if we are able to continue with the work after our refactor. I will, to clear the entire data, I'll do a migrate refresh. This will mean my database is empty, and I'll open up my tab. All right, it says everything is undefined, so we are failing somewhere. The database entry. That's strange. Let's just quickly do a dump on what data we are getting from the query. We'll understand the problem maybe, right? Okay, we are getting two entries. Why are we getting two entries even though we are doing first? That's strange. There was a null entry as well. Okay, I'm extremely sorry. So this is the common problem with using async and await. So what has happened is inside the controller, I created that constant and I said movie equals movie service get movie by ID, right? So what is happening is if I do refresh, it gets an undefined. Why? Because the data loaded later on. So we need to do await, and I think, yeah, let me refresh everything. So we have an empty database. Now if I hit this URL, it shows me the correct data and it has made an entry. And then if I hit refresh again, you can see I'm refreshing. It doesn't have any problem and I'm able to see the data. This is from the database, right? So let's search again. I'll load up this instance and this 1, 2, and let's just say 3. Okay, all of them are showing the information, and we have two more entries because yes, this was already loaded. So we have 3 entries, and if I try to refresh them again, everything works, but there is no extra data, right? So this is how we can even use the services and simplify our code in here. So my controller is very lean. Um, it is now relying on the service to do all the data fetching and sending it to me. And inside the service, I can break down my business logic as much as I want, to help maintain the code and keep things as per, how do you say, one function responsible for only one thing. So as I told you, right, if we don't get this, I can break it down into a second function as well, but for now it's fine. So yeah, that's about it. That's how we work with databases inside Adonis. We looked at how we created our migration and created all these columns in here, right? And then we also got our model, the movie model, which we haven't used as such. However, inside the service, we used that instance to do uh, the query, the create, and all those stuff. And then we also saw how the controller can create this service class, call its functions, and do all those stuff. So yeah, now that we have created the application with the database and everything, why don't we do something interesting as well, which is, let's just show the latest movies on this page from the database. Okay, so I'll just close out all the tabs which we have here, and let's just close everything else. I'll go to the movie service first. So what we are trying to do is we are going to query the database for the latest, let's say 10 entries or rows, right? So static async get latest movies. The service should return me 10 movies. So constant movies equals, again, this is an async function. So await is required, movie query dot order by ID descending limit 10 fetch. Why don't we do a direct return in here, right? So this service will give me the data which I want. Now in index, we need to get the data, right? So constant movies equals um, I'll just change the function name here. It's get latest movies. Okay. And now when we get the movies, right, let me show you how the result comes. From the database, let me show you how the results come in. Okay. So we go to the dashboard, we hit refresh. What happened? Movie service, constant, async. Hit refresh, and we have a vanilla serializer, and then in that we have rows which has the data. Okay. Now that means this is the data which we are looking for. So if I now hit refresh, sorry, rows, hit refresh, and I'm getting the information direct from the database, right? So that is something which I need to send to my view. So inside here, I'll say movies is movies.rows. Okay. This will allow me to run a for each loop inside the blade file, inside resources, views. I have pages and movies, right? So here I will be able to run a for each loop. But to do that, why don't we at first create a partial which will render the movie list. So movie list dot edge will have table bordered. I'll type in some of the markup. Okay, so I have th with all these t head with all these columns, and now in here we will do each movie in movies and each. So here we will get movie dot title, director, released, and the last one will be a td where I'll put a link. So how do we get the route? We get the route name. So if you remember, route name is movie view. Okay, and it needs the id. So first I'll do the route name, and then I send id as movie id. Okay, this should render the movie list. Now in here I'll come and copy this, include movie list, hit refresh. Let's look at what we have, and we do have the list of movies. Let's look at the database as well. So Tokyo Drift is on top, that's correct. And if I then search for any other movie, hit refresh, yeah, and then if I go to my listing page again, the new movie is on top, and I can click on the same, I can click on the view and use the same view to render the data. However, this is from my database. So this is how we pull database data and show it inside the view. Previously we had done a listing through the Ajax call which we were making to the movie database. So this is how we do the data from our own database and show the results. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like the video, do click on the thumbs up icon and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.